of climate change, we are going to go back. So if you remember earlier on, I mentioned that diversity is essential for our sustainability. So now we are going to look into equity, sustainability, and diversity. We are going to call up Leila Toplic, the Chief Communications and Trust Officer of Carbon Future, to join us in conversation as we look at climate strategy and climate strategy, 2.0, redefining sustainability through equitable leadership. Let's welcome Leila Toplic and her panelists. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. For those of you who just enjoyed this past session, which was fantastic, before we get started, I would actually like to ask everyone just to stand up and stretch before we start the next session that is focused on climate. So do your favorite yoga move. Say hello to your neighbor. Great. Does that feel good? Yes, okay. I know we're standing between you and the next break, so hopefully this has re-energized you for a great conversation about climate. All right, we are welcome to sit down now so we can get started, and you can also get to your coffee sooner. Now, we are the second climate session of today. We have the benefit of following an excellent panel discussion that was hosted by Elise Buckley. So what I'll be doing in the first couple of minutes is some scene setting before I bring on stage the fantastic group of women leaders to have this conversation with. So as we kick off this discussion that is at the intersection of sustainability, business, and gender equality, I want to share 3 points as a backdrop for the conversation we're about to have. First, really echoing what Elise and her panel talked about is that women are disproportionately affected by the climate crisis. They're facing and bearing the brunt of its consequences. One additional data point, in addition to what Elise shared, is that today 4 out of 5 people forced to leave their homes due to climate disaster are women. Second point, we do not have much time. And again, echoing the points made in the earlier conversation. The next 5 years, so I want you to focus on a very specific time frame. The next 5 years are critical for climate action. And this is a window of opportunity that we cannot afford to miss. I don't know how many of you saw that earlier this month, on November 17th, we briefly crossed the 2 Celsius threshold. What this simply means is that our planet is getting hotter and hotter. In fact, scientists have been warning us about this for decades because it could lead to catastrophic and irreversible consequences for all of us. What this also means is that we need to reduce and remove emissions now, and businesses have a critical role to play in this. And then the third point, around the world, women are driving corporate sustainability progress. Evidence shows that gender-diverse companies are more effective in reducing emissions. Post-Paris Agreement, these companies have seen a 5% greater reduction in emissions compared to the companies with male-led leadership. Additionally, research reinforces this, showing that companies with gender-diverse boards are 20% more likely to have improved their sustainability practices. So do keep these 3 points in mind as we start this discussion, and we'll explore the why and the how of women's leadership in corporate sustainability and the broader climate efforts. Now, we'll be focusing on women's leadership, but one thing that is important to note here is not to forget the men here in the room, and also those of you following us online. Climate change affects all of us, regardless of gender, and every job effectively needs to be a climate job if we are to have a livable planet and sustainable businesses. So this applies to everybody. So with this, let's dive in, and let me welcome Beatrice Cornacchia, Alexandra Soto, Elizabeth Tchoungui, and Claire Waysand. Welcome. So these four women have impressive backgrounds. I'm going to share only one sentence about each one of them, but do take time to take a look at their bios and their background. Beatrice leads Mastercard's brand strategy across Europe. She has been with business for over 30 years in many roles across different geographies. She's the Executive Vice President and Head of Marketing and Communications at Mastercard. Welcome.
Thank you.
Alexandra Soto, with over 3 decades of investment banking expertise, is currently the Chief Operating Officer and the Senior Partner at Lazard Investment Banking. She's an advocate of advancement of women in financial services and social mobility through education. Welcome.
Welcome.
Elizabeth is a former journalist and a writer, now serves as the Executive Vice President of CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility at Orange. She is leading companies' environmental and social responsibility efforts. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
And Claire, currently the Executive Vice President in charge of Corporate Secretariat, Strategy, Research and Innovation, and Communication at ENGIE Group, has an extensive background in French government finance roles, including leadership positions at the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister's office, as well as the roles at the European Investment Bank and the IMF. Welcome to all 4 of you.
Good afternoon to everybody.
So to set the stage, let's do a quick lightning round, so 30 seconds or so. As mentioned in the opening, it's a critical moment for climate action. Corporate sustainability efforts are part of that. We're talking about the role of women at this conference. So what would you put forward as one strategy, to elevate women's leadership in climate action? Beatrice, over to you.
Crystal clear, give them the right support, the right financial support. Financial inclusion, it's a very important topic and very close to the Mastercard heart. We made a pledge to financially include 1 billion people, of which 25 million small business led by women. I really feel that it's extremely important to give to this small business the right financial support. And the good news is the pledge was for 2040 and 25 million. We already reached 27 million SME entrepreneurial.
Wow. So financial inclusion with some real numbers to back that up and at the women entrepreneurship level.
Right.
Alexandra, one strategy.
Well, that's quite a difficult question. I think you're right. The next decade is crucial. We need to accelerate progress, and for that we need to accelerate innovation, and for that we need to have more diverse colleagues across the firm. So I think within that, I would have one which is said that the finance world at large have its role to play. That is through investment, this is through redirecting shareholders, this is through advice, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, I know they will play that part, and they already have had a genuine impact on such, and we all think and need to understand that finance has a key role to play.
So finance, resources. Elizabeth.
Well, you know, the first Nobel Prize awarded regarding climate activism, it's not by case. She was a woman, Wangari Maathai in Kenya, because maybe she was the first to theorize the link between empowering women and protecting environment. So today, how can we protect environment? How can we can go on facing challenges like global warming without digital? And the problem is that women occupy only 24% positions in digital, so it's a problem. The algorithm that will build the AI necessary to foster innovation in green tech, for instance, only 22% of women working on algorithm. So this is a real issue. So the key will be empowering women through digital.
So tech is certainly close to my heart, having spent 20 plus years in tech. So we have finance, we have digital, we have also at the level of women entrepreneurship, not just in corporations. Claire, what would you add?
Well, already a lot on the table, but I would add, make sure we actively promote women, fighting the biases that exist in the system, as well as fighting their own biases. And this is true within the staff. We have to make sure that we have sufficient women in operational and in leadership positions. And that's true also for boards. And you were mentioning this. We need diverse boards. We are lucky in France to have a law, Copé-Zimmermann, which provides for gender-balanced boards. And I believe this is a strong factor in promoting more women and being more attentive to gender diversity.
So women in leadership roles, but also at a level where they can influence and shape the strategy, so boards and the top leadership. We'll come back to some of these key strategies as we progress through our discussion. I want to just acknowledge the fact that, thanks to the organizers, we have assembled a fantastic representation of some of the key sectors that are critical for climate action. So we have finance, we have tech, we have energy, which is key to decarbonization. So I'd love to spend the next couple of minutes just diving deeper into what's happening in these sectors vis-a-vis both climate action or sustainability and also the role of women. Alexandra, let's talk about finance. Has the world of finance done what we're expecting for them in terms of gender equality? And if you could please share some of the examples from your work, from Lazard, in terms of incorporating gender perspectives in sustainability initiatives. And we do want to make this discussion constructive, so I ask everyone to share what's working and what's not working. So, up to you.
Can you allow me to be slightly provocative for 2 seconds? Please. I have a very strong conviction that those are 2 different issues. I do acknowledge the intersection between sustainability and gender diversity, but I do genuinely believe that those are 2 different issues, and we as women are running a very big risk of conflating those 2, and hence making gender diversity, on which we need to do much more work, and maybe it's because I am within the finance world where there is much more progress to do. So a plea for action, please. Let's not completely put gender diversity within sustainability, because we are running the risk of losing the focus on gender diversity and women advancement in the world of finance. We already, as you mentioned earlier, many women are taking ESG roles. They are actually ESG officers, and oh, it's a woman thing. I totally disagree. This is just everybody's issue, as we've actually discussed. So us at Lazard, and let's do a little, because I'm very proud actually of all the things that we've done. We've got some of my partners here who've been really at the forefront in the first row here. We've actually in both businesses, we've done 2 different things. We've actually done a top-down, bottom-up approach that has been very important. We've got employee resource groups. We've got in the asset management, we've got funds which are only dedicated to female-led entrepreneurship. We've got obviously a lot of measurement we're doing, both in terms of diversity and sustainability. What I fundamentally believe, and every firm has its own culture and own initiatives, is that a lot has to do grassroots, because that's what works. Every country, you all are in different countries, in all different companies. It needs to be grassroots, and it needs to be measured. And people need to be accountable. If you don't have measurement, if you don't have transparency, if you don't have accountability, all those are very nice words. I will go back to my office tonight and then have a nice cup of tea, and that's not going to work. So let's make sure within all your businesses, people are accountable for progress.
Yeah, thanks, Alexandra. And I actually do think this is an important point about maintaining distinct focuses on women's leadership and also sustainability while ensuring that they're complementary. So we'll keep that in mind as we progress through this discussion, but also sharing how you're walking the talk on actually putting the money in women's hands and keeping yourself accountable for that. Beatrice, just continuing with the finance, but also bringing the sort of digital role here. Mastercard operates at the intersection of finance and digital, the convergence that is very important for both inclusive and sustainable development. What trends are you seeing at this intersection of finance, digital, and gender? What approaches might be working or not?
So let's talk about financial inclusion. Sometimes we don't think through what financial inclusion means, because we are talking about reality where if you are not financially included, you do not exist. And so it's extremely important. And that is where there is the correlation between financial inclusion and the women world, because in the majority of the world, the people that are less financially included are women. And sometimes we are tempted to think that we are talking about other continents. I think that you can guess from my accent that I'm Italian. In Italy, which is a sort of developed market, 1 out of 3 women doesn't have a current account. So it's an important topic. And actually, what we are trying to do right now in Mastercard is moving from financial inclusion to financial access in order to give people dignity. And that is where the gender has an important role. Talking about the climate, I think that ESG, it's a very important topic that cannot be a standalone pillar. ESG has to be part of the entire strategy that we do. And that's what we do in Mastercard. Let me give you a couple of examples to be extremely concrete. The year-end bonus in Mastercard, it's made by 3 main pillars: ESG, financial inclusion, and gender parity. These are the only 3 KPIs that we have in order to define our bonus. Very clear for 30,000 Mastercard employees. So extremely clear. The second point is we need to do something now. There is no time anymore to wait. So we made a pledge to be net zero carbon. And in order to do that, we're going through all the chain. So first of all, digital first. It's extremely important to be digital first in order to work on the carbon emission. But from all the different perspectives, I mean, I'm working in marketing and communication, and what we do, we have a very sustainable media investment. So I really feel that we don't have to work with a lot of words, but we need to start to do concrete facts.
Yeah, thank you for that. So a couple of things. Financial access, not financial inclusion. Right. Access supported by technology so you can reach everyone, and really walking the talk also internally across the whole business, because that is not just ESG. That's not corporate sustainability's job, it's everybody's job. Elizabeth, continuing with the digital or the technology. So you work in the rapidly evolving technology or telecommunications sector, and tech is very important for inclusive and equitable, but also scalable and timely climate action. Can you share one example of efforts at, again, the bring together sustainability, tech, but also support diversity?
Yes, at Orange, we really have a very holistic vision of CSR. We have 2 major commitments on environment, being net zero carbon in 2040, and in digital inclusion, accompany 6 million people by developing their digital trainings, and inclusion, social inclusion means also gender equality. And so we have those 2 legs, because without 2 legs, you cannot go fast. So one example of this holistic vision is a program we lead in partnership with a UN Women in Liberia. It's one of the 18 countries in Africa and Middle East where we operate. This program is called Buy From Women. So it's a program for women in very rural areas. And you must know that the women part of this program, some of them didn't know at the beginning even how to read, how to count. So UN Women taught them how to read and count. So we trained them with digital skills in order to sell their crops through a platform, digital platform that we developed, where they can also find information on climate resilience, on weather, on insurance. We also equipped those villages with solar panels. So solar panels, for instance, means that they can regulate the flow of the water for irrigation, so less water consumed. And at the end, in 18 months, this platform, Buy From Women, generated $100,000 for 1,600 women. Imagine in Liberia, the average wage is $48. So imagine the financial autonomy they gain. Imagine also how they, I met those women in this village, and they were so confident thanks to, yes, this empowerment, that the next step for them, one of them wants to go to candidate for being mayor, and she will be supported by every woman in the village. So probably this village will see the first woman mayor. So that's empowerment through digital.
Elizabeth, thank you also for highlighting the importance of information access, and especially as it relates to kind of rapidly changing climate patterns. They're so critical, especially in agriculture. We know over 40% of our agricultural workers are women. And also decarbonizing at the community level with the solar panels. So that gets me to the question for Claire. Since you are at the forefront of decarbonization with regards to energy, and you're helping businesses reach their sustainability targets. I want to come back to this point around women being disproportionately affected by the climate crisis. And based on what you're seeing in your work, why are women vulnerable to climate change? And what can we do to build resilience?
Thank you. That's a key question, actually. Not an easy one, and I could spend a lot of time. But let me first say, rebounding on what Alexandra said, that fighting climate change is for all, both men and women. Yeah. So I think there are issues which are specific to women, and I will come to it. But I think first and foremost, and of course at ENGIE, we are an energy company. We have very strong commitments to be net zero, all scopes, really all scopes, by 2045, certified well below 2 degrees. And this is something which makes all men and women in the company wake up every morning. So that has no gender, and that's for good. So that's the first thing. Coming to your question on women, yes, indeed. Women are disproportionately affected by climate change. And I would add women and girls. Why? Because in a number of places, they are the ones who are disproportionately in charge of agriculture, in charge of getting the food, getting water, sometimes getting fuel. And whenever a woman gets more busy with these things, and that's what's going on because of climate change, they are facing extreme events, extreme drought, extreme floodings. It makes their lives more difficult. It means that they're going to spend more time and more energy looking for food, looking for water. And you know what? It means in particular that girls will not go to school. So yes, women are very much disproportionately affected by climate change. This is a real issue that we have to have in mind. This being said, us women, we don't like to be victims, right? So the idea is not, I mean, based on this, we know that we must be actors. And in a group like mine, we are very insistent, and I fully share again what was said. We have to walk the talk. We are very clear about the objectives we have in terms of recruitment, and it works. And it works when you set objectives, you say how to get there, you measure, and you track. Yeah. And we have very good experience of setting recruitment targets for all managers, Well, first year, you know, they don't really realize what it means. Second year, and that happened to the managers I manage in particular, you track them from day one, say, okay, where are you? And we are going to make our targets, to meet our targets. So yes, you have to track, and yes, in a number of cases, you can find innovative ways, and that's maybe what I want to leave you with, innovative ways to recruit women. So this cannot be done everywhere, but in Brazil, we were in a situation where it was difficult for the Brazilian teams to attract a sufficient number of women. They put an offer to recruit women technicians specifically targeted at women, aiming at women recruitment. You know what happened? First thing, they got, I think, 10 times more women applications than when the application was both for men and women, meaning that women felt comfortable applying. Usually they self-select, and they don't. They felt comfortable, that was one. And by the way, a few men applied as well. But second, the level of the recruitment they did was extraordinary. So not only a very large number of women did apply, much larger than when it's gender neutral, but they were excellent. So it shows that it works, and it shows that whatever the sector of activity, and you might think energy sector is a sector where it's disproportionate number of engineers, there are less women in the profession, less women technicians. Yes, but there are ways to attract them. And by the way, they are very much driven by the purpose. They are very much driven by the commitment to energy transition. So I believe this is very much the way forward. Continue to hire women so that they're actors, not victims.
Yeah. So I just want to actually highlight 2 points from what you just shared, Claire. One, on one end is really recognizing that climate is a threat amplifier, and that it comes on top of some of the structural barriers that already exist in a society for women, whether it's social, economic, or cultural, which is important to consider when we think about women's, not just the impact, but also inclusion and access, what we're talking about here. Second is walking the talk on talent and making sure that those who are actually who are shaping the strategy and the solutions of the company are diverse. And that's where I want to go to next and just share a couple of data points and get your take on that. In the US, women now hold 54% of the CSO, Corporate Chief Sustainability Officer roles. This is up from 28% in 2011. Additionally, GreenBiz highlights that women in sustainability managerial positions have grown from 39% to 63% between 2011 and 2020. How should we think about these numbers or this trend? What does it actually mean in practice? Maybe starting with you, Elizabeth, given the role you're in.
Well, you know, there's a trend sometimes, a bad trend, saying that, well, when some positions there are too many women, that means these are soft jobs. So CSR would be a soft job. Are you kidding? I mean, CSR is the most transformative process for the companies today. 10 years ago, it was the digital revolution, and tomorrow it will be AI, but CSR is definitely deeply transformative. So it's not a soft job. So yes, many CSR executive VP are women, and it's interesting to see how diverse the backgrounds are. I know CSR executive VP coming from the politics world, coming from activism, from law, from media, from NGO, because I think it's really a position where at the same time, it it's becoming more and more technical to get into the process of the companies and also with the quickly evolving regulation. But I think it's really a position where you really have to see all your stakeholders at 360% degrees. And I think that the adaptability of women, the fact that we faced some discrimination. I think we have more ability to get this large vision, huge vision of all the stakeholders that is really necessary for this position at CSR.
Can I say something?
Absolutely. Beatrice and then Alexandra.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I think it's important, as we said from the beginning, this is not a question of gender. That's clear. But also there is a perspective. The importance of climate, even though we should have started quite a long time ago, I would say it's quite a new topic. And I really feel that female women are much more modern. They really understand, they're more innovative. So, and of course, they were the first to jump in order to solve a problem or to try to build a strategy to solve a problem now that we don't have time anymore. So I really feel that there are some attitudes, but these are the positive ones. So let's not relegate these to a nice and charming job. I really feel that we are different. Male and female are different, and that's the beauty. I really feel that this kind of job required innovation, required time to action, required thinking out of the box. And I'm not saying that this is exclusivity for women, but of course we have a different accent. But the most important thing is to give the right resources to the role. So it's not about the role, but it's about the resources that you are giving.
So we've heard needs to be at the right level, at the business decision-making level. Right resources are required, and women bring unique skill sets to the table. Alexandra.
I was going to go somewhere else, actually, in your data
Please
that you gave us, which was Europe and US, because I think you gave us a few data, and I do travel between the two, and it's a very different perception and approach to both gender diversity and actually sustainability. And I think we can all, for the Europeans in the room, I know there are people from all over, we can be quite proud because Europe is at the forefront, both in terms, of course, sometimes too much regulation, but I do genuinely believe that it is useful to make sure that, and you are indeed, we're pushed by the younger generation in Europe. The people are proud, whether they are men or women, it's irrelevant. They are proud to have the kinds of job that, and working for you, Elizabeth. So I would say, as European, there is a real difference, and maybe in the US it has become very bipartisan, unfortunately, I should say. So hopefully that will change. Let's see what the elections in 2024 give us.
Thanks for your perspective. And maybe, Claire, I'll actually turn to you in closing. Time has flown by. We had so many more questions we wanted to talk about. But in closing, let's just pick out one kind of key takeaway or one call to action, because we've covered a lot of ground as it relates to this intersection of sustainability, business, and women's leadership. So, Claire, over to you, and then we'll just go down the line.
Well, my call for action is a call for the planet. We are about to head into COP28. We know we have no time to waste. We know we have no time to waste because climate change is there, and there are ample evidence of it worldwide. As we said, women are disproportionately affected, but the reality is that if we continue like this, the entire humanity is going to be affected. So my last message is really a call for action to all of you, all women and men. We all have powers to change, powers to vote, powers to influence the pace of things. And I think the priority right now is really to make sure that we accelerate on the fight against climate change. And that's both for men and women.
Okay.
I would say, again, holistic vision and thinking out of the box. One example, we have a very brief. We have a fleet of cable ships. So we were very happy to launch a new one, greener than the former generation, and At some point, of course, we had to give a name, and so came so many names of very famous male explorers, and I just said, hey, why not picking a scientist? And so our latest cable ship is called Sophie Germain, and that's the symbol of how we must have this holistic vision: climate, gender equality.
So my call for action is very simple. It's transparency, measurement, commitment, and accountability on both, whether it's gender diversity or sustainability. And with that, I think we will succeed.
Very brief, financial inclusion, ESG, gender parity, integrated in whatever we do in each company and in each human being.
With that, please join me in thanking these fabulous panelists for sharing some of the practical examples, but also big topics and themes for you to take away from this discussion. And we'll see you during the break, and we can continue the discussion then. Thanks very much.